Hello everybody, it's your favorite West Virginia Space here, and as the month of spooks and Halloween begun, I knew I had to make a video on the World of Darkness. I made quite a lot of videos on that, and I'll probably keep doing it. But I gotta think, well, this is Halloween, I gotta do something special for it. And so I crafted this idea. Now, the World of Darkness is filled to the brim, both versions, with horrifying monsters and creepy, spooky stuff like that. That's just kind of the standard in those worlds. Well, not standard, but you know what I mean. But that got me thinking, if they were put in the real world, like some of them were just plucked into our universe, they now just exist in our world, which would be the most horrifying, the most scary, the most terrifying for the holiday season? And well, that was an interesting question. Now, of course, I had to set some parameters for myself. One of them being, I'm not counting creatures that I think either do exist, or the real-life version of them is so close that I don't think it should really count. So that means we're not covering, like, demons or ghosts here, okay? The second one is, as the nature of being in the real world, I'm trying to roughly stick within the parameters of what I consider reality. So I'm not trying to create whole massive cosmic shakeups with this. So, aka, no triad or no god machine. That's, of course, very subjective in my opinion on both of them, but that's how I'm doing my video. You want to do it, make your own video on it. But ultimately, let's begin on what I think are the top 3 scariest creatures in the World of Darkness if they were real. First up are beasts. Now, as people who personally know me and hear me talk about this, I'm not the biggest fan of beasts as a game line. I don't think they make good player characters, I don't think the theme is really flawed out, and the mechanics are wonky as heck. However, one of the things I will always praise them for is they make absolutely perfect antagonists, at least for certain kinds of stories, because they are absolutely terrifying. Now, of course, they are one of the newer lines of World of Darkness, which many people write off completely. However, this one completely deserves your attention if you're looking for scary monsters, because their whole stick, their entire gimmick, is that they are, of course, well, kind of primordial dream monsters in a way, that haunt you in your nightmare to teach you lessons, quote-unquote, scare you half to death. And this isn't like, and that's a big deal, okay, because regardless of any primordial lesson they're trying to teach or anything like that, it doesn't really matter because they're still scaring the daylights out of you, and yes, they can kill you in your sleep, sometimes by just scaring you to death. So you can't just be like, oh, well, it's scary, but it's not going to hurt me, because, oh, it can hurt you, alright, mate. And it isn't just like they're going to give you like, oh no, I had like a mildly bad dream. No. These guys, they're on another level. They can come up with all kinds of horrifying, messed up stuff, sending you to horrifying environments, chased by giant monsters, falling infinitely, glass rain, acid burning. Correction, just think of anything you've ever heard someone say happened to them in a nightmare, and they can do it. All of it to you. And the thing is, you think like, oh, they have to stop. No, they do not have to stop. They never have to stop. They can do it to you for the rest of your life until you probably die of trauma. And that's all bad, okay? That's some pretty bad stuff to deal with. But it gets worse, as you can imagine. Because here's the thought that makes it really, really bad, is that though they do have some powers in the physical world, like I said, they're dream monsters. But the thing is, they don't have to be near you for it to work. You do not have to know who's messing with you. This isn't like you somehow instinctively know who they are instantly. They can know who you are. They can torment you for months or years, and you never know what they look like. And even if you do somehow get near one in the physical world, it doesn't matter much because they don't really not look like normal people. So unless they mess up big time, you aren't even going to know they're a beast. So even if you did meet them in the physical world. But in case all of that wasn't enough, because, you know, all that's pretty bad as it is, the only true way to properly kill a beast for good, to make sure that there's no more potential issues, is to go into the dream world, their own personal nightmare lair, think like their own personal nightmare dimension, and you have to go in there and destroy the heart of their lair. Now this is all very bad, right? Here's the thing, there is no nerve for a normal person to do this. So if a beast decides it wants to make your life a living nightmare, guess what, mate? There's jack you can do about it, because normal people cannot basically get in there. You can't, like, fight them in your dream, really. You have no reasonable way to get in there. The quickest theoretical way to maybe get in there is maybe some kind of magic, but that's incredibly dodgy in the World of Darkness if it works in the first place. So guess what, mate? If a beast decides it wants to mess with you, guess what? It's going to keep messing with you forever and ever and ever, and you just have to suck it up. So, say bye-bye to nice nights of sleep. The second one is the Ananasi from Werewolf the Apocalypse, and I can never say their name right, so I'm just going to keep calling them were spiders to save my sanity. Now, of course, all the shapeshifters in World of Darkness are pretty terrifying as a rule, but I didn't group them all together because as a group, they're kind of wishy-washy, sometimes they're good or at least vaguely helpful, and then other times, as a whole, they're not the hardest thing to kill. In theory, it's kind of iffy, but But the thing is, the Ananasi do not need that. The were spiders don't. First of all, I have a fear of spiders. I won't call it a phobia because a phobia is an irrational fear. There is nothing irrational about being scared of spiders because those things are terrifying as normal. Just normal spiders are scary, and these things take it to a whole nother level. First of all, they can disguise as humans. This is already bad enough. If a normal spider could disguise itself as a human, I'd be terrified. But it gets even worse, because these stupid jerks, in all forms they have a venom. They have little fangs in their mouth, or not so little fangs. And they can do massive damage to you. Specifically, though it's not exactly stated how much, they do aggravated damage, which, fun fact, as a normal human in the World of Darkness, there is basically no way to cure aggravated damage. Now, the venom is slightly not quite as bad, but that is the thing is, you as a normal human cannot naturally heal aggravated damage. These things in human form can just give you a little bite very quickly when you aren't looking, and then, oh yeah, time to die. This is theoretically worse than some form of spider bites. And by the way, all spider bites cause necrosis. But it gets even worse for you as, remember when I said they're shapeshifters? They have a human form, then they have a pseudo-human form with way too many eyes, way too much muscle, and way too many limbs, because that wasn't bad enough for you. And in case that wasn't even close to bad enough for you, how about a giant spider? And when I mean giant spider form, I mean like a giant spider, and this thing can range from the size of a car to the size of 2-story buildings, because that is an absolute nightmare fuel. And it gets even worse. You think you just turn to a normal spider? No. They turn into a swarm of spiders. Tons, hundreds of spiders. One of them. And they can control all of them. It's also worth mentioning that, like I said, in all forms, they have a venom that if it gets into you, it will cause aggravated damage that you, as a normal person, cannot heal. They can basically kill you without you properly knowing it, because remember, they are intelligent. This isn't a wild animal spider. This is an intelligent hunter. So if it decides that it just wants to kill you, all it needs is one of its little spiders to get you in the bed, and when you're sleeping, bite, and welcome to Death Town. And it gets even worse, because once again, if they don't care about stealth, then screw you, because they can do all kinds of things to you with the giant spider form. And if all of this wasn't bad enough, let's just say you somehow do manage to see them and get away, so you could try to plan out a way to stop them. Guess what, mate? You can't, because they still have delirium. So you will very likely forget that one is even hunting you, and then they can just go back and try again like you're unaware. And they don't have a weakness to silver or gold like most shapeshifters in World of Darkness do. So there isn't even a special weapon vulnerability you can exploit. The only thing there's a slight saving grace over fighting other shape changes is that they don't naturally have regeneration. They have to spend blood points to do it. This isn't helping you that much though, because then you get blood from just about anything, including you mid-combat. So, yeah, how do I put this? They're terrifying, horrifying, and if one's hunting you, you're basically dead. Also, there's very little way to properly detect them, so, complete nightmare fuel. Last but certainly not least are Sorcerers from Mages of the Ascension. Now, most people would say that proper mages themselves because of their reality-bending powers. Now, granted, those are bad. Those would be terrifying if they existed, and terrifying to try to fight. However, their powers due to paradox are kind of wishy-washy of how dangerous they actually are, or at least to you as a practical, normal person. Admittedly, for most versions of mage, it's generally easier for them to just get a gun and shoot you in the face. That does not apply to sorcerers. Sorcerers laugh at paradox. Now, granted, their thing is that the major weakness over mages is that they have very limited magic and can't basically just do whatever they want with the right spears. That's not going to help you, though, because they have tons of magic at their disposal. They could do all kinds of shenanigans that can easily kill you. They have all kinds of stuff, not including but not limited to alchemy, enchantment, fascination, healing, necromancy, shapeshifting, and weather control. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. it only gets worse. And the thing is, this isn't just like they have a mild, tiny ability to do minor little things. They can do all kinds of things with these powers. And the thing is, like I said, they do not incur paradox. So they can do it right in front of you, pretty much, in most cases, with some difficulty, even then not much, especially if it's just you, and do all kinds of things to you without you properly being able to plan around it. And the thing is, they are completely normal humans, so no random ability you have to sense supernaturals is going to save you if you somehow have that ability. Which you don't, but if you did. And the thing is, they are limited to just one. It's not like, oh, I'm just an alchemist, if that wasn't enough to kill you. It gets even worse because they are often have multiple different paths they're on. Meaning that even if you somehow predict for one, they can just switch to another that you didn't even have time to prepare for. Which, your ability to prepare for any of these, non-existent. Because, fun fact, there isn't. They can just do magic. There is very little ways for a non-magic user to counter magic. And it gets even worse. Now, granted, there is a slight benefit over the other two I've mentioned, is that you can theoretically just shoot one in the face, and that will be the end of it, assuming they don't have healing or other shenanigans going on. And granted, that is a slight weakness they have, similar to their mage cousins. This won't help you, though, because they don't need to do that. Illusion powers. Powers that make them more durable. Powers that let them heal. Powers that let them kill you or be faster than you, so they kill you before they do it. Remember, they can manipulate the weather. They could just tear down your house before you even know what happened. They could use fate or manipulation to really screw with any attempt you try to use weapons on. The only consistent way to surely be able to take down one of these guys is if you catch one off guard, which is generally not impossible, just hope they don't have a million ways to get around that. So ultimately, they are absolutely terrifying. And what's worst part is they are completely normal people. They are not some kind of were-spider species or beast species living among people. They can be anyone. Anyone you know could be a sorcerer, and if you happen to have a rival, they could just casually know world-shaking magic and kill you before you even had the idea to understand what was going on. So yeah, definitely terrifying to be on this list. But ultimately, those are just my opinions of 3 of the most scary creatures in the World of Darkness. But I'd love to hear your opinion. There are definitely others that can make this list, and I might make a second part, maybe drawing an Exalted in here too. But ultimately, that's just my opinion. I want to hear what you guys think. Please like, comment down below, and just give me any ideas, and I'll see you all next time. Yeah? Hey, why don't you hit that sub button? You're gonna become a subscribble. Get to see my content quicker. Wouldn't that be nice? I bet so.